Thank you for tuning in at the Dollars and Dreams Hour podcast. Today we're going to be talking about entrepreneurship, business ownership, of course, and we're just going to kind of give our experience on entrepreneurship, on business owners. And, you know, Greg, you've been into multiple different businesses, and as well as I. So we're going to just kind of give our take and
our pros and cons.
Yeah, you know, how people do it, how we've been lasting, or the stresses,
the sleepless nights.
Yeah. Business, owning a business or running a business, people think it's easy, right?
Definitely not.
Yeah. I mean, the painfulness of running your business, owning your business is not the easy part, right?
Well, people look at people, when they look at entrepreneurs, they look at, when they made it. They don't see the struggle. They don't see the long road that they've taken for them to get there.
The hard work, right?
The hard work, the actual hard work, the sweating, the sleepless nights, you could say. They just don't see that. They just see the outcome, and that's it. They just see the success. And everybody's like, okay, I want to become an entrepreneur. But let's be honest.
What was the reasons you did it?
The reason why I did it, I actually got into sales. That's where it all started, getting into sales. I fell in love with sales. You could say that was the first actual job I've had. And then from there, once I started getting into sales, I was like, you know what? This is good. I like sales. I love it.
Yeah.
And then after sales, decided to take my path into my own hands and just started doing my own thing.
Now, did you always work on commission, or was it
always
on commission?
The commission is the only way to go. That's the only way to go. That's the only thing I believe in. Because let's be honest, if you're salary based, right, you're not gonna work as hard and you're not gonna work as much. Now, if you're hourly, right, if you get paid hourly, you're just gonna kill your time. You're gonna just go through your life just for that, $17? We're in California, $17, $18 an hour. Heck, 25.
Yeah.
What are you gonna get out of that? Just a paycheck for you to pay your bills. That's it. You're just gonna be living on paycheck to paycheck.
And it's the safety. A lot of people look at the safety, but then you lose.
I don't believe in safety. That's the thing. What's safety for you?
Yeah. I mean,
we all have
can make
bills.
it. Yep.
You're better off, stressing. Me personally, I love stress. I love stress because that drives me more. Okay, this month was a rough month. Damn, okay, we're going to get it done next month 10 times better. That's it. Yeah. You're going to just keep on fighting. That's what gets your blood flowing. That's what gets you motivated. Yeah, you're not going to wake up every single morning all motivated, ready to make money. You're not going to be motivated because, let's be honest, we have a team of guys behind us.
Yeah.
Same way with my other, you could say, businesses as well. I have to motivate all these guys. But at the end of the day, when you come back home, you're the one unmotivated because you're tired. Mm-hmm. When you wake up in the morning, like, okay, let's wake up, let's kill it today.
Yeah.
We got to make money. We have to motivate our guys for them to make money too. Mm-hmm. But on the long run, it's worth it, in my opinion. Now, everybody's different. Everybody's perspective is different. Like, I was talking to a couple of my friends. Not a couple. I was talking to one of my friends. It's like, man, don't you think it's enough for you? I was like, it's never enough. I was like, just get because I was stressing last month.
Yeah.
It's like, don't you think it's enough for you? Like, just go get a corporate job. I was like, man, I'm not built for a corporate job. The second I get into corporate job, I'm just going to go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
I can't do that. I've been by myself my whole entire life, pretty much, just making my own money. Now, if I go to corporate job, I'm going to be on that rat race. Every morning, 9 to 5. Every day, 9 to 5. But how do I achieve my goals in that case? Now, if you're not driven by your own goals, you're not built to become an entrepreneur. That's my opinion. Everybody has their own perspective, right?
Well, there are different aspects of, you know, earning money. A lot of people want to be secure, and they become secure within their own means.
I'm not against that. I'm not against that whatsoever. I have a lot of family members that are, you know, security is everything. For me, that's not everything for me, because I love hunting for my own commission. I love it.
It's a thrill, right? I mean, it just makes your blood boil and you feel that alive.
Roller coaster. No, seriously, like entrepreneurship, let's be honest, it's just like sitting on a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Every single day, it's a different thing.
Sometimes it scares you. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes it's fun, right?
Yeah,
it's just that really steep corners that you're going through, and you don't know if you're going to come out, right? Yeah.
It's a very rough ride.
Sometimes it's a dark tunnel, but then you get out of it. It's like, oh my God, it's so beautiful on this side, you know? Oh, yeah. So usually that's where everybody is different from, let's say, a mindset of a person that is looking for that security, looking for that cushion. You know, I think entrepreneurs are like daredevils, right? They want to do the impossible, or they want to do the most risky things.
Yeah.
Which makes them feel alive. It's like, you know, you put a lion in a cage. Entrepreneurs are the lions, and you cannot be tamed, right?
Yeah.
It's not like you want to be out in the wild. I think that's what makes it fun. Every day is different.
Yeah.
Rather
100%.
than like going to a cubicle, going to an office that, you know, you're surrounded by 4 walls and you're there 8 hours. You know, I can never sit in one place for 8 hours, you know. It's just impossible. That's one of the things, you know, like I just don't like.
It's that freedom too.
Yeah.
It's that freedom. Because if you don't have that freedom, then it's just like living that robot life.
Yeah. I mean, you are at the office. Let's say, for example, entrepreneurs, right? Like what people think about entrepreneurs or opening a business. Why do they open a business? Usually they say, you know what, they want to be their own boss. They don't want to work as many hours. They want to control their own.
It's the total opposite.
Yeah.
When
right?
they say I don't want to work this many hours, it's bullshit. Let's be honest.
Yeah. You work more, right? So
you work more. You sleep. You breathe. You eat. It's all of you're working while everything's happening.
Yeah.
You trying to go on vacation? Oh yeah, best of luck.
You're still working.
You're still working. It's
well, sometimes you want to
ending.
work on your vacation so you can get a write-off, right? So
yeah. Yeah.
That's one of the benefits of owning your businesses is the write-offs.
Yeah, true.
You know, it's like a Hawaii. You want to go to Hawaii?
Business expense. Check.
So sometimes it could cost you more or less.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, you know, people think, you know, they're like, you know, sometimes you ask people, why do you, like even us, right? When we're hiring people in the insurance industry, when I talk to them and say, hey, why do you choose the life insurance industry? They're like, oh, you know, I want to work less. I want to do this. You know, I kind of a little bit laugh inside because, you know, I'm like, yeah, it's not going to be possible because if you don't work,
you're not going to make money.
Yeah. When I started in this business, I used to, you're not working at a higher like, you know, let's say what you will be working for somebody else, but you're still putting that time. And then I used to get appointments during the nighttime, right? So let's say if I had to go see somebody after work, because we want to catch them anywhere we can. You know, let's say...
Best closing times are after 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
When the husband and wife are home.
Exactly. Because, you know, if the wife is not there or if the husband is not there, no matter what the male says, at the end of the day...
I got to talk to my wife.
Exactly, right? So it's like one of the worst things you can say, right? Yeah. It's like the silliest... you know, and, you know, I've been into different businesses where every time where they're cornered, they're like, oh, I need to talk to my wife, you know. But before then, they were the most macho, a guy is, oh, I make
I'm the
all
decision maker.
Yeah.
This and that. Everything has changed. I mean,
This was to be before, to be honest, I'm talking about 20 years plus.
Yeah.
This whole.
But you, here and there, you still come across those guys.
Yeah.
Like, I'm still the decision maker. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. They
Which I respect that.
Yeah. Especially with our business, right? Let's say, or in any business, if you're creating a business and if it's good for your business, obviously, you're not going to, if, let's say, for example, in our business, we're giving life insurance. What do? We protect their family. We're giving them peace of mind or mortgage protection, right? We're giving them their retirement and so on and so forth. I usually say, what are you going to talk about your wife? Wouldn't she want to be protected, or wouldn't she?
I understand when it comes to life insurance. Yeah, I understand when they have to sit down and talk to their wife. The reason why is because at the end of the day, it's either the wife that's going to be the beneficiary, either the mom or their kids. Totally understandable. But when it comes to, some other aspect of, I got to talk to my wife, let's say they're remodeling their house or they're getting their whole yard done.
Mm-hmm.
If the wife already designed the yard or the kitchen, the husband is there for them to make the decision on, let's say, on the bid, right? Which contractor he's going to choose.
Yeah.
He still turns around and is like, you know what? I got to talk to my wife. What's there to, talk to your wife? That's what I'm trying to figure out till this day.
There's always something that's stopping them from doing it. It's just excuse to buy time, And a lot of times with the business,
those people are not ready for them to pull the trigger. That's all it is.
And a lot of entrepreneurs too, right? Let's say we had a lot of even people that are building their businesses and things like that. They can't really do anything. That's why a lot of people don't become a business owner. Is
it's a
because
risk factor.
Yeah, they cannot make that decision. Whether it's wrong or right, because you have no idea what's wrong and what's right, because sometimes the wrong decisions become the right decisions, and then sometimes the right decisions become the wrong decisions. Because,
I think it's the risk.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think it's the risk because some people they're not. Let's be realistic and say it this way: people don't want to risk it for the biscuit.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people that have great ideas that would love to start their own business, but once it's time for them to make the move for them to open up their own business, they're scared. Mm-hmm. Because all they hear from around them is, oh, you're going to fail. This is going to happen. That's going to happen. You have to be a daredevil. You have to risk it. Because if you don't risk it, you're not going to know if it's going to work out or not.
Mm-hmm. And most of the people that tell you you're going to fail is who?
Corporate people job, 9 to 5.
Yeah. And usually your friends, right?
Yeah. Those are the secure state. You have to have a stable income. No.
Yeah. Like especially your friends, family.
Especially if, in my opinion, especially if you're in your 20s, shit, man, it's your best time for you to risk it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's always the best time for you to risk it, no matter what. No matter what.
Yeah, because you have time to correct your
as long
path,
as you're breathing,
right?
you could risk it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, hey, you know what? Just dump your whole generation, whatever you have saved up, all that money into your, whatever you're saving, you have into that business.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. That'll be a very financially a dumb move for you to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Unless it's a good idea that you're going to be wanting to succeed, then you can put that money in.
Yeah. But at the same time, there's risks. When you're starting your own, obviously there's risks. The risk factor is high when you're starting alone.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you won't know until you try it out.
What is the statistics that they say 90% of businesses within 2 years, I think, 3 years?
Fell 2 years or...
Even within a year, there's a high chance of... See, that's the thing. A lot of people quit so early, and usually it's about capital, right? You run out of money that you can't continue on. But then there's a lot of businesses
that you don't need capital.
that you don't need capital. You know, we were talking about different things like, you know, like I always look a lot of videos out there on entrepreneurship or like business people we follow. And, you know, they show you different ways of starting businesses, right? Actually, this guy, you know, was calling and talking about, you know, he was asking this person online, what I'm doing now, I'm doing door-to-door sales. You know, should I do something that is giving me passive income? And interestingly, he was saying, you know what, should I go into life insurance full time rather than doing door-to-door alarm services, right? And a guy says, well, it's a no-brainer because, you know, you just said that you have a passive income, you have, you know, renewals and so on and so forth. It is going to bring you more money. Why would you waste your time on something that is not bringing you long term?
Yeah.
Rather than just a short term. Yeah, it's good, but then you're making. But there's a lot of people that is, you know, like they think business is easy, but they're not wanting to sell things. You know, and one of the most, I think, if you're an entrepreneur, and if you don't like sales, you know, the business is not for you. You know, there's no business out there that does not involve sales, I think, you know.
I met a lot of people that say, oh, the sales is hard. Sales is not for me. Sales is this and that. Everybody could do sales. Or when they turn around, they're like, oh, I hate salesmen. What are you talking about? You go to the store, you go down to Vaughn's, Ralph's. They're selling you.
Yeah.
What do you mean I hate sales? Well, okay, don't eat, don't drink.
Yeah, because you sell every day. Because if you went to your job, right?
Everything is sales.
Yeah.
Everything.
Exactly.
Every single thing that you touch is sales.
Yeah.
Every penny that comes out of your bank account, they're selling you on something.
Yep. I always say either they sell you or you sell to them.
Exactly.
So it's just whether who's making the money is the person selling it, you know, and you know, like there is, you know, I always tell people when people say, you know, we're not a good salesman, or I hate selling, or I hate doing things. I said, well, you sell yourself every day. You went to get a job. What did you do? You sold yourself to the employee for money, right? Because you said,
you
hey,
sold your time for that money.
Exactly. Because you said, this is who I am. This is what I can do. Then they chose how much you're worth. You didn't choose because they're choosing that. The only difference between, let's say, you go to a regular job, an entrepreneur, is I think, as an entrepreneur, you choose as a business owner how much you are worth. And then when you go to a job, they choose how much you're worth.
Exactly.
Because they give you, it says, hey, you know what, Greg, you're worth 85 because this is how much we're going to pay you, or 100,000. And that your worth only increases 3% a year, you know. But in entrepreneur side or business, if you're really good, your net worth or your worth can change to millions, right?
Yeah.
So it's crazy. And I have a story like that. You know, it's crazy. I was only, I think I was like maybe 18, 19. I got a job at Wells Fargo. And that was my first nice job because, you know, you get dressed, you know. And those days when you got dressed and stuff, even when you walked on the street, they thought you were like $1 million guy, right? Nowadays, it's like, you know, millionaires dress down, the poor people dress up, right?
Yep. So
it's a kind of a reverse thing now. But, you know, when I started, it was like $9 an hour, right? And this was when I'm talking about $9. The minimum wage was like $4.25 or something. So the
you're already calculating how I'm gonna spend this $9.
So it's like, you know, like now you're like because, you know, you're a kid. $500 was $500, you know, and, you know, honestly, we did more with that $500 back then than like 10 grand now, right? So it's crazy. But this guy walked in, this older gentleman used to always come in, and one of our clients. And he used to see me all the time. And every single time he used to come in and says, what are you here? What are you doing here? I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, what are you doing here? I'm like, I have to work. I'm making money. He's like, no. You're young. Don't waste your time. Yeah. You know, are you worth what they're paying you? He will always tell me that. And I don't know, maybe it was because of him. It kind of stuck with me all the time. You know, that was one of the gentlemen that used to come in. And he used to, every single time he used to come in, sometimes I tried to avoid him because I knew
what he was going
to tell me, right?
Well, at that moment, you were like, man, why is this guy talking down on me, this and that?
Yeah.
Once you get older, you're like, damn, he was right.
Yeah. Yeah, and now I know exactly what he was trying to tell me. It's like, don't waste your time. Go risk it. Go do it. It's like, you should do something better than this.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's that's the thing, with business.
I mean, I was reading an article like a couple of days ago. I think 50% of Gen Zs, they're starting to, they don't want to take that corporate job anymore. They want to become entrepreneurs. The reason why is because of inflation, in my opinion. Right? You could say inflation is at all-time high.
Yeah. Well, they're saying that it's about 3% or 2%, whatever they call it, right?
Yeah.
But when you look at the food prices,
I mean, I was watching like a couple of videos. People are taking out bank loans for them to feed their families. That's not normal.
They're saying that groceries, I think more people are using credit cards for groceries than ever before.
Your credit card debt has been the highest than it's ever been before.
Yeah, even the world, right?
Yeah.
World is 7, I believe the last stat I had seen was $700 trillion of debt. This is worldwide. But we don't know who owes what. And I mean, it's interesting enough where it's like, where is debt going, right? So it's like, who's going to pay who? Because everybody is, it's like, imagine you owe me 100 million and I owe you 100 million and we're still borrowing from each other. Who's going to pay what? It's at the end of the day, it's kind of, it's kind of interesting when you think about it, right? So, but
how was your journey? Let me ask you that.
Well, it was
I know it was tough and rough.
I think it's still sometimes tough and rough, right? Because I don't think we've plateaued to a level where even if you plateau to a level, you still have the downhills, and then sometimes it's great and you're riding the wave, and then give you an example. Sometimes your businesses take different route because of policy changes and you don't adopt too quickly, But when I started, I came, since probably I will say from 22, I've never worked for anybody, because.
Would you say it's been the best decision you made, or it's been the worst decision you made?
I always say, what, every day is different, right? Sometimes, sometimes there's days that you're like, what, hell with this, right? You're ready to quit and you're ready to say, hey, you know what, I had enough. But then tomorrow comes in, then things start flowing in. You're like, man, I'm never living this thing again,
Yeah.
But I think that's why if you don't like that, then I think people jump out of it. That's why a lot of people fail maybe after 1 year.
I would say a lot of people have plan B. That's why they leave.
Yeah. I had no option because I was like, I'm not going back.
Me personally, I never look at a plan B. Well, I don't have a plan B.
Unless it's unless you made a mistake and then you take the plan B. That's the only plan B.
No, but in terms of, entrepreneurship, to quit, that quit or giving up this is my perspective. Quit or giving up is out of my dictionary. Okay, it's going rough. It's bad. Sure, business is financially doing bad. You got to find your way out. If John from down the street made it, what's keeping you away from making it?
It's persistency, It's keep on doing it. I think, people quit. I have people that we started the business together.
Yeah,
they're not even close to being around, right? They go to different areas, and then they start that, and then like another 2 years later they're gonna quit because they go on a high time. They kind of I always say there's jumpers, right? They jump from one industry to the next, trying to catch the waves.
You could do that because I am in different industries, right? You know that I'm in different industries. You could jump from one industry to another industry, but at the same time, where you started from, you're still working on that too.
Yeah.
that's not quitting. That's making your income
Journey.
building your journey longer.
Yeah. And like, multiple streams,
Yeah.
because it's good to, what I mean by like a lot of people now, even employees are having a hard time because people are, I think now it's slowing down, but before how people were in more demand as far as jobs, and people were hopping from one job to another.
Yeah.
Because their incomes were increasing as they jumped because, this guy was offering them more and then this person was offering them more. And they were just going around and then they get stuck and then they get fired from that. And then, but now what they do is they burn everything.
They burn the
so
bridges.
That's like mostly, those guys. But with entrepreneurs, with business owners, like especially with us, right? Like we can switch at any time.
Yeah.
Let's say some people like, we have people that are in real estate, right? There are people like, you do different other things, right? And then we have, me, I'm mostly in insurance, right? And what you can do is you can delegate some time in different things because you're not actually working 50 hours, 60. Even if you're working 60 hours a week, you can delegate certain hours because you're not putting 9 hours in, let's say, in insurance, 9 hours in real estate. There's like real estate has a lot of time consuming, right? Like weekends, or there's like a lot of downtime maybe on the weekdays, or you're calling people, right? Like let's say if you're calling people and stuff. But with insurance, the same thing. We're calling, but why I like that industry and why I got stuck in it is because of that choice of being able to schedule my own hours.
Yeah.
Meaning, let's say if I work 10 hours, I can spread it in any way I want it.
You got to be good at your time managing skills because if you don't, we do work longer hours than 9 to 5 guys, but we have families at the end of the day. Some of us have kids like you. We have to spend time with them too. It's not only work. We have friends that we have to spend time with them.
It's a balance.
You have to balance your schedule. If you don't, man, you're gonna be left alone. And being left alone, I've never been left alone.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it's not fun. So I don't know. You gotta be good at your time management skills too.
Yeah. I mean, entrepreneurs, time management, hard work, consistency and never quit.
Yeah.
I think most people come in, what frustrates me is a lot of people come in and they work for 1 month, they do 2 months, and they don't see
any results.
Crazy results, right? Like a lot of people come in, I have agents that come in, they made 20 grand, 30 grand, and then they took a vacation, right? Or, and then I have agents that just continuously struggle, right?
Yeah.
And they quit. And I always tell them, I said, listen, this business, in any business you do, you have to create your clientele. You have to, it's like,
you got to build a pipeline.
Yeah, it's like planting a seed, right?
Yeah.
You can't just plant a seed and then the tree comes out.
It's like keep on watering that.
Yeah, it's like you have to, and then it's, when do you eat the fruits? It's not today, but in, let's say, 3 years down the road, 4 years down the road, when the tree is full of fruit, right?
Yeah.
But people come in and they're like, plant the seed, and they're like, where's my tree? Where's the fruits? They want the fruits before the tree becomes a tree, right?
It's funny that you said the agents, they come in, they make 20, 30, this and that. I was sitting down with a couple of high income earners. These guys were billionaires. And I asked them, I was like, listen, man, like we're sitting down on the table, having lunch, this and that. I was like, how'd you get here? Because it was very interesting. You're sitting down on a table with a couple of billionaires. You got to ask that question because you don't come across that kind of tax bracket guys very often, right? It's like, it's easy to make money, which I agree with him. It's like, it's easy to make money, but it's hard to save that money for you to reinvest it. Because when you're making that money, you're going to spend it.
Yeah.
You want to go drive a nice car. You want to go buy a nice watch. You want to go, on a nice vacation. That's what that stuck to me till this day, because if we look at it, there's a lot of people that are making good amount of money nowadays.
Oh yeah, it's especially online, right?
Yeah. But the question is, how are those guys spending their money? If they're smart about their spending, they could really reinvest that money, and their $10,000, $20,000 a month could become 20, 40.
Yep. It's just, I think what happens is, I'm trying to look at I just wanted to make sure I get his name right. I was watching when you said spending, right? Tyler Perry.
Yeah.
Right. And they were interviewing him, and he said, and this is when he started the business, and because, Tyler Perry was homeless at one time, right? Mm-hmm. And he said, coming from being a homeless, and he's like, 1 year I made, I think he said about 120 or something, 150, whatever. He goes, that's the first year I made after I started doing things. He goes, I spent that money. I was giving it to my family, and he goes, at the end of the year, I didn't know how to pay taxes. Mm-hmm. He goes, I didn't know anything about it. So he goes, the second year, he said he made $700,000. He goes, I was just paying everybody. He goes, because I was coming from being homeless, he said, I thought I was not worth it, and I was giving it to everybody else because that's what I was taught, or they thought that, I had to give this money away for me to make it again.
Yeah.
So how they say, oh, you have to spend it in order to make it. So it's kind of like
you have to spend that on the right things, though.
Yeah. So he's like, I was giving it to my family. He goes, the second year again, I found out that I had to pay taxes again, and then he goes, the next third year I was making, I think he said $5 or $7 million. He goes, at that point, I learned my lesson. And he started saving money and investing, right? And I think what happens is, and I think what hit me there is, I think what happens to many of us is because, we're not used to making a lot of money, right? I mean, yeah, we might make 100, 200 or 300 or so. Then when you start making 7, 8, you've never, because like, honestly, today, if you're making 150 or 200, it's really not much.
Not enough.
Because like,
it's not enough. It's not that it's not much. It's just, it's not enough.
Your expenses.
I don't want to sound greedy, or whoever hears this thing and like, oh, it's not enough, this and that. Yeah, I understand. There are people that are making $4,000 or $5,000 a month, and they're still getting by.
Yeah.
I'm not living the luxury life, this and that. No, but realistically, $10,000 a month nowadays is not enough.
No.
To a normal household, it's not enough.
Because you have expensive food prices are,
ridiculous.
Like, everything else is.
You go to the grocery store, you buy two things. A bag of grocery is going to cost you $100.
Yep. And that's why now they were saying that, now the reason why people, like you said, the Gen Z ones, now a lot of people are going into businesses because of inflation, because of the cost of prices, where now they're realizing, damn, see, that's what I usually tell people. I said, when we hire people, and when they ask me about commissions, or let's say they say, hey, you know what, I want a salary of safety. I say, well, if you get a salary, if we pay you a salary, I'm never going to be able to satisfy your needs. Mm-hmm. No matter how much I pay you, you're going to complain. They're like, what do you mean? I said, well, if I paid you a salary, next 2 years or a year later, your spending is going to come to a point where that's not going to be enough.
Yeah.
So now you're going to come to me and say, hey, man, you're not paying me enough. Or you're going to see how much we're making, and you're going to be calculating in your own mind and say,
that's unfair.
I'm making you guys $30,000 a month. You're paying me $5,000 a month.
Exactly.
Versus, let's say you're getting 80% of that, right? Or let's say sometimes 90% of that. So which one do you want to have? Which one are you going to be much happier? I say, if you're a producer, especially coming into a business where you control your own money, why do you need a salary if you're going to work hard,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
If you know your worth.
if you're going to pay me $30, how much am I going to work?
Not
You know,
enough.
I mean, enough to keep my job, right? That's what people do. Is like, I always tell, like, when you work for somebody, I said the only person you're competing with is yourself. You're your worst enemy if you are, let's say, especially if you're on a production basis. Let's say if you're sales, right? And they give you, let's say, whatever, $150,000. Now, this year you hit a record number. What did they pay you? Same, right? 150, because you're not making anything. So you're the top guy, top tier guy.
But the company's probably making a couple million off of you.
So then whatever you made. So next year, let's say your production level was whatever the program they're using to evaluate your number one position, right? So now next year, where how do you need to perform? You have to go above that, right? So let's say, for example, next year you come in half the production or half the position where you had to be. Guess what they're going to tell you? Hey, you're slacking off.
Yep.
So now who made you lose your job? You yourself, because you're the worst enemy.
Exactly. And plus, if you're getting paid hourly or salary, you don't even have that. Me, I always go for that freedom.
Mm-hmm.
You want to work that day? You're working that day for you to earn that money. If you don't, no problem. If you don't want to make money that day, okay, take off. Go spend some time with your wife, with your kids, with your mom, dad.
Or if you're not in the mood, right?
Yeah. Because we all of us, we have bad days.
Yeah.
Come on, we're human.
Like yesterday, I was like so tired. I was like, you know what? I don't want to talk to anybody. Like sometimes you feel, and it's good to cut yourself away because let's say if you
had a long weekend, maybe that's why.
Probably, so after coming from those long weekends, but that's the beautiful thing about it, that you can, but then you have to catch up the next day. Yeah. That's why today I'm again tired, but not because of what I did on the weekend, but because of
you gotta do
working, right? Catching up because the clients are calling you. You have to service them. But that, it's just that's the beauty of it. That's why I love working for myself, and just the freedom. I think not the freedom not to work hours, but the freedom to work any hours. But you're working. I might work 10 hours, 12 hours, but at the end of the day, it feels like I only work 2.
Yeah.
I
mean, for me, it doesn't even feel like I'm working, because if you really enjoy what you do, it's not going to feel like you're working whatsoever. Because you got to be passionate about something that you do.
Yeah.
About your work. If you're not passionate about it, man, you're going to hate your life.
Oh, yeah. When I used to work at the bank, I used to work part-time.
You used to, let's be honest, you used to go to sleep. Holy shit, man, I got to wake up in the morning, go to work. No, why would you do that?
Every single day when I knew, like, they give you the schedule, right? Even when I used to work for the dealership, we had our schedule done for the whole year. We used to get a card. There used to be 6 teams, right? And all you do is you rotate the weeks, right? So, and then you circle back, and then you circle back. So it's just like one card with 6 different weeks, and then you just rotate. One day, and every 6 days we used to get a weekend off. Most of the other times it was weekdays, because of course, in a car dealership, you had to work. And there was like a Nissan dealership. So
weekends are the best, because they can come and take a look at it on the day off.
Exactly. And everybody, most of our sales, let's say in a weekday, you might sell maybe 1 car, 2 cars, let's say, because, it was like a lineup situation, and you might wait, let's say 8 hours, and no clients used to come in, or that your turn came in and then all of a sudden, or you had to make appointments. But, it's just... every single time I used to look at that schedule, I was like, I hate it. I don't want to go back in. I don't want to, and then we used to close at midnight. So we had to stay until midnight. So I used to go out after midnight. you know. And my friends used to be out somewhere, and I'm like, okay, hey, where are you coming? I'm like, I have to leave work at 12, But we used to stay there no matter what.
Yeah.
If clients are not there, you had to be there because it's not your business. If there's no clients, and nowadays we can work from anywhere we want to.
Yeah.
That's the
beauty of it.
I think, after the pandemic, people figured it out.
Yeah. I think so too. Yeah. A lot of people, it opened up a lot of people's eyes.
Yeah. Do you think TikTok, Instagram, how they became creators, influencers, did that influence people, or that kind of put it up front?
That, I believe so. Yeah, you could say so. That opened up a lot of people's eyes, since TikTok and Instagram, it's so accessible for others. When they're scrolling throughout their day and they see all the lavish lifestyle, even though 95% of that is all fake.
Yeah.
It's all made up. People go rent cars for them to show it off on Instagram and TikTok, this and that, for them to be entrepreneurs, quote unquote. But people see that, they're like, you know what? Why is he living that life and I'm not?
Mm-hmm.
I want to live that lavish life. And they're like, you know what? Forget it. I'm going to risk it. I'm going to quit and open up something of my own. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, that could be one of the reasons why we have more entrepreneurs now, more business owners now than we did back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah, I think social media did definitely open up a lot of people's eyes.
Yeah, I think, when they're posting that stuff, especially nowadays, everybody's selling something online, right?
Oh, yeah.
Business courses. And
if you want to have a Lamborghini like me, go ahead and, buy my course. Come on, man. It's freaking down. Okay, I can't believe, people actually fall for that.
People, I think, a lot of times people are, it's just, I don't know why they do it, but sometimes it's just, they want to believe it, I think. And sometimes they go to these classes, I think, to network, more of a network thing, to see those. That's the only reason.
But there's so many ways that you could network.
Yeah.
Than paying some
$1,500 or,
some, I don't even know how to describe those guys. Paid those guys, 50 or $100 a month to those guys for you to what? For them to tell you how to write a damn script?
Yeah.
Or for them to tell you how to be your own boss? Or there's so many, all of this weird courses that they teach.
Yeah.
Quote unquote teach, but it's all AI generated stuff. I could
Especially
guarantee
now,
you that.
right?
Yeah. Ask those guys. Seriously, put those guys down and ask them serious questions. They're not going to be able to answer it.
Yeah.
Because 90% of those guys, they can't teach anything.
Yeah. It's just they go by exact script.
Yeah.
And they do everything robotically,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like, oh, this is
those
what
guys
it
now. Those guys are built on the pyramid.
Yeah.
Pyramid scheme. Well, you can't call it a pyramid scheme.
Technically, right? So,
yeah.
I used to be part of somewhat similar thing.
You were in a multi-marketing.
Yeah, multi-marketing.
Yeah.
That's what they called it, right?
You could say they're built on a multi-marketing skills as well, because at the end, that started off of this one top guy.
Yeah.
And then that guy said, you know what? If you sell my course, I'll give you, let's say, 10%.
Yeah.
And then so on and so forth. We know how that works.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to a general population, they don't know that, those guys that promote, click on my link, buy my course. They don't know how, multi-marketing works. Yeah. So that's why
sometimes you learn things from them.
Yeah,
sometimes,
of course.
You see, but most of, I think about 90% of them, it's just copy
they got
paste.
lucky.
Yeah.
They got lucky.
There's some of them, I think the only ones that truly, we went through some of the courses, right? Let's say I used to do Tony Robbins, which was actually pretty good, some of the things. So you kind of take I think you retain, if you retain 10% of what they're saying. Some of them are repetitively the same things, right?
Yeah.
Let's say, for example, back in the days, the car business, I met Grant Cardone, right? And he used to do a lot of, he started in the car business. Most of the things he was teaching was in the car business, how to close deals.
You mentioned Grant Cardone, and you mentioned that he started at a dealership. One of the influencers that I really like, this guy really stands out because seems like we're the same. I don't want to say we're the same personality, but
Who's that?
Bradley.
I don't know if I've seen the guy.
He's I believe,
what does he do?
He has his own life insurance company and all that too. But this guy is all straightforward, like how I am, like no filter whatsoever. He'll just shoot it out there. I respect him.
Yeah.
Because he was in car sales too, I believe. Don't quote me on that. But
is it the buff guy?
Not too buff.
Oh no, there's this other guy too, which I forgot his name.
Elliot,
yeah.
Yeah.
So he's like a car sales guy.
Yeah.
Like he's like a, boiler room kind of.
One thing. I had this one question. Do you think the hardcore sales died down in this new generation?
I think yes, because you know how now on internet, right? They teach you how to not sell, how to not approach the people, right? Do it, settle, don't. Because, I think people, even in the car business, right? Because now people are afraid to get sued so much, because, there's so many, I think since the involvement of like social media and, things come out, videos are coming out. And I think a lot of people are transitioning from that, the hardcore salesperson, the funny guy, the
nice guy,
the hyper crazy guy that everybody hated but loved it because the guy just sold them something.
Yeah.
You went in, there's no, I don't think there.
Everybody expects to be meeting a nice guy.
Yeah. It's like, like the full carpet, all that service, or, or be polite, And back in the days, the best sales guys were like these guys, like snakes, oil, whatever they called it, right? Snake oil salesman or whatever they called it.
Sleazy salesman.
Sleazy salesman. I met so many of them in the business, especially in the car business. 90%. When I went into the business, I was a naive guy, right? And I learned very quickly that never trust another guy sitting next to you. Also, because they will take your food away from you because they're like cutthroat business. But now it's like everybody's afraid of, even they don't even want to sell anything. They're just like, you don't have to hardcore sell it, but
you do though. Sometimes that customer needs that extra push. Like a couple days ago, I was at a customer's house because this guy didn't want to go over his policy, this and that over the phone. I was like, you know what? I'll come sit down with you. I don't do that often. I go sit down with him, this and that. I'm pushing this guy because he actually needs it. He actually needs it. It's like, he turns around to me and goes, you know what? Stop pushing me for me to buy this. And I'm like, listen, man, I'm not pushing you. I'm just trying to open up your eyes. You just don't see the benefit of it.
Yeah.
Oh, this is harassment. He just goes on and on. I'm like, listen, what do you mean it's it's harassment?
Too sensitive.
Yeah, people have gone way too sensitive. That old American, put your foot down. It's all gone.
It's not fun anymore. Let me put it this way. It's just, when you used to go, like a lot of times when you used to go, I think that was the fun part of it. I think, the sales process.
Yeah. When you were when you would do hardcore sales, like I'm saying, like what should I say, like 8-10 years ago, when you used to do hardcore sales, and then you'll come back to the office and tell your guys, you know what, I sold them this way, this is how I did it, this that, the stories after you did a hardcore sale, this and that. The stories have died down.
Yep.
That's what I've noticed even in the office. Like,
They're afraid, right?
yeah, everybody's afraid. What are you afraid of? It sells.
Yep.
What, the customer doesn't like it? Maybe they don't see the benefit of it. That's what the problem is. Maybe you're the problem because you're not providing them with all the benefits that they could, save, or they could need some kind of help.
Yeah. Somebody's going to sell them anyways, right?
Oh yeah,
So,
come on.
because like a lot of times that's what happens. You call them, they're like, "Oh, I already bought it."
Why?
It's just crazy. I always used to say, the ones that, usually, especially in the car business, right? Or in any business, I think it's the same way. The least amount of time you spend with one client is the most you'll make with that client.
Mm-hmm.
And then the more time that you have spent on that client is the least amount of client and the least amount of money you'll make. And that client will be the least satisfied one.
Yeah.
The one that takes a short time, they know what they're buying, or like you kind of a little bit of push here and boom, 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 you put them in. Give you an example. One time I sold this guy a minivan. He came in for a smaller car and he went with the minivan, So, and then of course, he had a down payment and then we did the payments, right?
I just imagine that the guy came in for a Corvette. He left with a minivan.
Many times they used to come the reverse. They used to come for a nicer car and then they used to go because of credit situation and their payments. And then, they came in a van. 8 people went into a Central, right? So, but this guy came in the opposite and then he liked the van and it's like, oh my God. And then mind you, like at those days, Nissan was the most horrible designs that you can possibly, like it was like probably one of the worst cars or companies to work for as far as design wise.
Mm-hmm.
Mechanically, they're really good. But like the design, especially like the Sentra, was so horrible. Like I wouldn't even drive that car if you gave it to me for free at that point. Now it's more beautiful because it's like it takes more hints of the higher end, right? So this guy bought the car. So we gave him the payments, and of course, you go to your desk manager and then, it gives you a pencil, that's what they call it. And then we came back and the guy is like, oh, you know what? I don't have this much down. I said, well, let me see what I can do. So, we fixed it up and then he went in. There was like a 6,000 something gross profits in that. So he liked it. We wrapped it up. He went home. This guy, about an hour later, he calls me. And usually it's not a good thing.
When they call you back.
Yeah. Either maybe they missed something or they forgot something.
Or he's bringing the car back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he can't because once you drive off, you're screwed, right? But it's never a good thing because then you're going to have something with this guy. And then he calls me and says, Sarkis, I love the car. I'm like, thank you. Yeah, it's a nice car. He goes, listen, my cousin just saw the car. He's wondering if you can do the same deal for him. So I was like, come on in. Let's see what we can do. If his credit is good, we can do it. So like, it was just hilarious, and this guy took me the least amount of time that day. I made great money. And
was he a salesman himself?
No, he wasn't. But a lot of times, sales guys are even worse to sell because, especially if they're cars, they're like, I know what you guys do.
Yeah, maybe in cars, but I've never been in car sales and all that. But I think us salesmen are the easiest to be sold on because we don't want our time to be wasted.
We call them the laydowns.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't want to say it, but yeah.
That's the terminology, right?
Yeah.
We just I don't negotiate a lot of the times.
So
I don't know how to
if you're a salesman, find yourself a salesman for you to sell something to.
It's like a business. Like if you want to build a business, you find somebody, you copy somebody, right?
Yeah.
And like a sales guys too, and everything starts with sales. Just love sales. And it's easy I think it's something easy to learn. A lot of people say, oh, you got to be
good on with people talking the same. Yeah, you could. Yeah, that's one of the factors. But everybody could become a salesman. Mm-hmm. Every single person. I highly believe in that.
Yeah, especially.
Come on, man. Nobody was born to be a salesman.
No, not. Like it's not like you're born. I think most of the skills. it's like, 90% of the businesses, I think, is the hard work you put in.
Yeah.
90%, 10% is just the product knowledge and knowledge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you have, a lot of the guys that we come in with, that gets
It's
to us.
confidence too. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I tell them, I said, listen, it's about all hard work. It's not, like some people say, I want to know everything about the business before I go out there and do it. Right?
You're going to prejudge everything that you see.
Other than that, you spend all your time. The guy, I forgot his name, the chip manufacturing guy, the Asian guy. Let me see, what's that chip company? NVIDIA. What's the CEO's name?
Oh, I'm bad with names.
Yeah, I forget. What the biggest thing with me with names, if I don't use your name on a constant basis, let's say a few times, or you don't do it, is no, you don't have an impression on me, I don't remember your name that much. It's like sometimes I'll forget like people that I do business with, and I'm like, damn, what was that guy's name? Because I don't like, it's not a person. Yeah, it's called, his name Jensen Hang or Hung or whatever it might be, right? With the pronunciation, I don't want to pronounce it the wrong way. But he said that when I started the business, they were interviewing him. And he was talking about entrepreneurship. And they said, when people think, owning their business, they're going to work 3 hours a day, 5 hours a day. He goes, hell, when I was doing my business, I was working 18 hours a day.
Yeah.
If you're opening a business, you have to work 80 hours a week, And he said,
even maybe more than that.
Yeah. And he said, if I took my time studying everything, he goes, I grabbed a thick book and how to open a business, how to do things, especially like a tech company. He said, I wanted to know how to create a tech company. Yeah, I know a lot of things about producing software, whatever, chips and things like that. But he goes, doing that and doing business is totally different.
Oh, yeah.
He goes, but if I spend my time, I bought the book and he's like, I forgot about it. I'm like, I'm just jumping in. He goes, a lot of times people spend so much time reading everything about it and trying to know everything about it.
They get distracted.
And they end up doing nothing.
Yeah.
He goes, I put aside a book and I learned by jumping in. That's why I tell people,
it's experience.
Stop. Yeah.
It's experience. You got to build the experience. Same way whenever we hire people, right? You got to start hiring people based off of experience. I highly believe in that.
Mm-hmm.
Then, this guy has a master's degree. This guy has, bachelor's degree. No, man. If the guy has experience, if the guy has been on the field, why don't you give him a chance?
Mm-hmm.
That same guy that has bachelor's degree might not even produce the same amount as the guy down the street that was a salesman for 15 years.
Yeah. There's a skit like that. The guy goes in. Yeah, the guy goes in on interviews. I watch a lot of stuff. On my downtime, I'm always looking at stuff. Like it's not only like it kind of puts you in, and it's something that you can share with people too. This guy goes to an interview, and he's sitting there, and he gives the resume to the guy who's interviewing him. He's like, and then he's like, "Oh, why should we hire you?" And the guy says, well, I have 10 years of this, 10 years of that. I've closed, I've produced this. And very intense, like very experienced guy. And he shows the numbers. He's like, yeah, I've brought the company from here to this. And, I've always been number one wherever I've been. And the guy asks him, oh, do you have a bachelor degree? And he's like, no. He's like, oh, I'm sorry, we cannot hire you.
Wow.
And, and then the next guy comes in. And then the guy's like, oh, what type of experience do you have? He's like, oh, I have no experience. I'm just coming out, school, and I'm trying to build I'm trying to build my resume and stuff. He's like, but I have a bachelor degree. He's like, okay, you're hired. So it's just that's a lot of times unfortunately that's what they look for, as if it's gonna.
I think slowly it's changing though, in my opinion. A lot of people, a lot of companies are going more towards experience than diploma, bachelor degree, this and that. Me, I'm a dropout.
Yeah.
I went to Pasadena City College for 2 semesters. After that,
Just
I was
got
like,
bored.
besides getting bored, I looked at the people around me. They were all depressed, going to class, stressed, this and that. I was even like, whenever I was doing homework, I'm like, man, this is not for me. And all the guys that I went to, because I went to same class with a couple of my friends,
Mhm.
all the guys that dropped out at the same time as me, successful.
Yeah.
Because me personally, I put it to my head, okay, I'm dropping out. I don't want to be a disappointment to my family, to my dad, to my mom. If I didn't succeed at going to school, I'm gonna succeed at something else.
That's a motivation that you have.
Exactly, because we're all immigrants. Myself, you,
Yeah.
not all, but our surrounding
Yeah.
people. We're all immigrants. At the end of the day, we come here for the freedom. Now, if we're gonna come here for us to do 9 to 5 or for us to live paycheck to paycheck, we should have stayed wherever we came from.
Yeah.
Why are most of the successful people in America immigrants? Because they come from nothing for them to build something.
They're hungry, right?
They're hungry because they didn't have that opportunity in their own country. But whenever other people look at the immigrants being successful, they're like, "Oh, he did something illegal.
Yeah.
Oh, he did something bad." No,
They don't see the hard work behind.
they don't
the
see
person.
the hard work, and they don't see the background where they came from.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that guy didn't have the money for him to, maybe that guy was saving his bread money for that day for him to come to America for him to be successful. There's so many stories like that.
Yeah, a lot of people come in with zero.
Yeah.
In debt, right? Like
In debt, or they come into America only a couple $100 in their hand, and then next thing you know, 10 years, 15 years down the line, they dreamed of being successful. They actually become successful.
and a lot of them are entrepreneurs because
Yeah.
they run away. And you look at a lot of people that come, especially in our culture, right? And I think that's a lot of other cultures as well. Let's say in the Asian cultures, Armenian cultures, Hispanics even. You have different other cultures that come here, like Cubans, right? You see them. There's a lot of entrepreneurship in there
Yeah.
because they don't want to. I think not only because they see the opportunity that I think a lot of kids today that don't see, right, where they're like, because they don't know the difference, right? They don't know. Even our kids are not going to know the difference between what our father's struggle was, right? Because they're not going to see us struggling the way our dads are.
Yeah.
Right? Let's say when our parents came in, they didn't know the language. They knew a little bit, but they didn't know enough to go into get a good job, right? They had to do lower tier jobs for little money, and they built it. They sacrificed, their time, and their things. That's a lot of times, when we were younger too, a lot of times when I started my business, right, and I had the opportunity to drive whatever I wanted to. A lot of people, especially like let's say people that used to see you on the street, they're like, oh, this guy, and I used to look very young. Even at 26, I used to look like 19, 20. A lot of people were like, oh, look at this kid, he's driving this. Oh, he must be this, or he must be the dad, or he must be this. But, because, like you said, we had no choice, when I left college, when I started the dealership, and then I started making money, and I was going into graphic arts, right? And I was like, dude, this thing is making me 8,000-9,000. If I go to get a graphic job and I'm going to go and sit in an office and 8 hours, 9 hours, or sometimes 10 hours, because if you're not working for yourself, you're putting 10 hours drawing something or designing something for somebody else, it doesn't become fun because it's not creative. It's just,
and they have control over your income too.
Creativity, and your income, right?
Yeah.
So, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to leave it for one semester. And I used to go to Costa at Long Beach. and I left for one semester, and I still haven't gone back. Right?
You're still on that first semester.
Yeah, exactly. And I took a lot of courses, and Long Beach was like one of the top art places after like Pasadena Art School, but Pasadena Art School was like very expensive, and I couldn't afford it because my parents couldn't afford to pay $40,000 at that time. I'm sure now it's going to be more expensive, but that's the thing with entrepreneurs coming from overseas versus the people here. They want easy stuff because they always had it easy. They're like, you know what? I'm not going to go sacrifice my time into worrying about how much I'm going to make this month. I want to get 3,000, 2,000.
People limit themselves way too much. And
I always tell them, opening your own business is not for anybody or everybody, right?
If you're not willing to put in the time and the effort and be consistent about it, it's not for you.
What kind of a person do you think? Like we discussed some of the traits, right? But what personality do you need to have? Or is it the personality, or is it
you got to be a people person?
Is that one of the main factors?
In my opinion.
Yeah. That's what I think too, because
if you're not a people person, you're not going to you can't even get along with yourself. Unless
like you're online, right? Let's say you're not, let's say like some of the influencers, but you still have to go to
meetings,
events, and so on and so forth, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of jobs, I don't know how they do it, right? Let's say if you're in an office, just like a program.
I guess
right?
we will never know.
Yeah. I don't think I can take a job where it's, even if it's a good amount of money, but like, I know a lot of people that just hate their jobs.
Oh, yeah. But they still make good money. Yeah.
And they can't leave because they make good money. But they're miserable. Yeah. I always say I'd rather be miserable doing my own stuff than doing somebody else's stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course.
If you're going to be miserable,
why not be your own?
Exactly. At least it's your fault, right?
Some people, like I said, it's all on perspective.
Yeah.
It's all on perspective. If they're looking for security, if they're looking for, for them to clock in, clock out, those people are never going to change their mind for them to become their own boss, their own for them to succeed in their own way.
Mm-hmm.
Or risk it. I don't know. I would say it's perspective.
Because at the end of the day, you're making the same amount of money. Let's say if you open your own business, depending on what you
not really. If you open up your own business, you have you could actually increase your income.
No, what I mean is in the beginning, right? So you can make. Let's say here.
You're comparing to an employee that's making $150,000 a year to a business owner that's making $150,000.
They're saying that females versus males, we have it's 56,000 or so on the male side, on the business owners, and then 54 or 53 on the female side. So it's a little bit different, but that's like an average income anyways.
Yeah.
Why don't you just want to do something that is like nobody's telling you what to do?
Nobody's telling you what time for you to clock in or clock out.
It's just
that whole aspect of it, you gotta be here on time. You gotta do this. You gotta think. You could take only 10-minute bathroom break. I don't know if it's if it's actually like that.
It's crazy.
But or you gotta dress properly the same. You dress however you want to dress.
Everything is controlled by you or controlled by somebody else. Because I always say always. This is one of the words I use a lot. When it comes to people, I tell them, I say, listen, everything that, if you have a job, for example, if you have a job, I will put it this way: if you have a job, your whole life or lifestyle is controlled by your boss or the company you work for. Because let's say it dictates if you're going to drive a Mercedes or you're going to drive a Toyota, or if you're going to live in a good neighborhood or if you're going to not live in a good neighborhood, or if you're going to get dressed nicely or you're not going to have this. Every aspect of your daily routine, even the restaurants you eat, is dictated by the company you're working for.
Yeah.
Or the income you're taking in, right? But let's say, for example, I tell the person that comes with us and asks us to pay them salary versus commission, and we don't pay salary. And we say, you know what, the reason why, because I say, you know what, we don't want to control you, number one, your time. And we want to make sure you succeed on your own time. Second, you controlling everything. If you want to, let's say, I always tell them, you want to drive a Mercedes, you can literally help 2 families and you can buy that Mercedes. If you want to have a vacation, then you can work 3 hours more and you can go on to that vacation. And if you want to, let's say, for example, go on a month vacation, not work for 1 month, you can work 1 month very aggressively and take 2 months off.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's what I do. I work 1-2 months really great and very forcefully. And then I make enough and then I have time to build the business. Now I'm working on the business rather than being in the business, right?
Yeah.
That's what another person was saying, is a lot of people forget to work on their business. They're always in their business. When you're in the business, you're not building your business.
Mm-hmm.
You're just a worker. But you have to work on your business as well. So you got to transition in that thing, where a lot of people think, oh, we have to constantly make this much money, right? But if you're constantly making that, you're now working because you're focused on the money as much more than anything. You end up stabilizing your money, but then you're not building your business.
Yeah.
You're not increasing that money where you need to do.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the crazy thing about owning a business is, it's never going to be, roses and petals and, you know what I mean? It's
not going to be sunshine and rainbows all the time.
It's not going to be lobster time every time. You see a lot of real estate guys advertising, it says before escrow and after escrow, or they have something in escrow. Now they're like eating it, they're eating lobster, and then, next week they have no escrow. They're eating soup. Yeah. So that's the whole thing. And that's our story, right? So, and we're gonna
you choose what you want to become, pretty much.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is. And if if people have any questions for us, that what more of our journeys are, and how we do things, and especially in our business, if people are interested in insurance, right?
Or if there's any way we could help them out.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
We don't have any questions. Links for you guys to click on.
Yeah. We never, I have people that I've recommended because it didn't fit our model, right? And I say, hey, go to this way, go to that way. I always help them out. Because at the end of the day, you might lose them today. And then I always, put it in this, I'd rather lose somebody and train them and lose them than rather than just keep them as a weak person in that business. Or if they're trained, they go somewhere else and they know where they worked before, or where they were an agent where they were, and then they talk about us in a different way. Give you an example. When we were at the Nissan dealership, everybody knew our training. So when we used to say we work for this dealership, they hired you on the spot because they knew your training.
Yeah.
So I'd rather be that than somebody that said, that's just crap company. They don't teach you nothing. And we get a lot of people like that too, when they say, I learned within the conversation of a hiring. Sometimes they ask us about the products. They're like, I learned more than what I was going into training some places, right?
Yeah.
So anybody that has any questions, they can always call us or just DM us. We can answer those questions, and if they have any answers, they want the answers, we can always make videos. One of the videos that we can make is based on
questions.
Our listeners' questions, right?
Yeah.
So we can go from there. Anything that you have for today?
That's it.
I think we pretty much covered it.
Yeah.
So I mean, if anybody else wants wants to do anything, let us know. And with that said, just hopefully they'll follow us online and just listen to us on
Spotify, Apple.
Everywhere. I think we're mostly
We're covering all the.
yeah. We have. I mean, you can listen to us everywhere, or you can download it and just listen offline. You can do so as well, and we'll bring you guys more, of course, and hopefully we'll see you guys more and more next years to come. And I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thank you, Greg, for being here today too.
Absolutely.
And see you guys on the next
podcast.
Thank you, guys, and
Have
see
a
you
good
next
night.
time.